and Matt Perez below me, members of our daily crew here. What's going on, guys?
I feel like this is like a yearbook like format, like the whole like pictures on top. But I like it. It's something new. And I also like the late start. Maybe we could let's just start at midnight next time. I think we could do that.
We were trying our best here. Right? You can only go with the card, with the hand that you were dealt at this point in time.
It's adversity.
It is. I'm trying to work on a lot of stuff right now at the same time, trying to get us up and running. Of course, there were some things that were working. There were some things that weren't working. Do you want to check to see if we are live on both platforms? It looks like we're live on Gaslam's Finest. For some reason, Instagram was kind of acting a fool, but I don't really know what's going on with that. So hopefully that is working. I know we're live on Twitter and YouTube and stuff. A little bit of a different look on our thing. I like it. I think it's perfect for social. Matt, what's going on? Why I try to fix the Instagram thing?
I think it's great. We got to pay some honor to the Pac-12. Start a little bit after dark. We can start at midnight. We can start at 8. It works with me. I'm excited to dive into the Super Bowl and kind of see what we all thought about the game, the halftime show, commercials, everything like that.
Matt, I feel like you got to be happy, right? Because apparently your most hated team in the United States of America couldn't get it done. They frankly blew it.
No,
so I figured you'd be in a better mood.
I'm very happy. Hence my hat. You got to break out the old back-to-back champions in honor of the Chiefs and let the 49ers know they have not won a Super Bowl since 1994, which would be still older than the last Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl. So I decided to let them know. Thank you, Patrick Mahomes, beating the Eagles and the 49ers back-to-back years.
Wow.
He's a Cowboy at heart.
I'm still trying to figure out this. The Instagram thing is such a pain in the ass, dude. It doesn't.
We're rattled over there,
dude. Huh? It won't
Matt,
let
you should
me.
Just keep indulging us with your history lessons. I think that's going to help.
It won't let me.
Braden through.
It won't let me. It won't let me stream to 2 Instagram accounts at once because Instagram is dumb with the way that they do this. So I'm fixing it right now. One more time.
While you do that, Braden, before we dive into the meat and potatoes of the game, did you guys watch the game together? Like, did you
Yes.
do a party?
Yes,
Were you by yourself? Did you do the bar? We got to revisit that from last week.
He came over to my house, had a spread, way too much.
You had way too much food.
It was horrible. I felt so bad about myself about 8:30 Sunday night.
You're still like physically like you ate too much. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
The spread itself had a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it did, but
that's a good thing though. That's why you could just work it off. The next what was the worst thing? Well, what was the thing that you loved the most that made you feel the worst about?
We had a neighbor bring a garlic bread bowl. It was like a bread bowl, and there was like a garlic like paste essentially in the middle, and he had all these little pieces. You take it, spread it out. It was unreal. I had probably a little bit too much of that before I got into like the wings, the brats, everything like that. God. Just ruined my appetite for the rest of the day.
You were in a carb coma that you were just suffering through the entire game.
Yeah, but it's all right.
And then you changed it with a bunch of beer and wings and chips. Nice.
Yeah, I had to work it off. So I had to get back, as they say.
It's pretty good though. I was able to get some good cuisine over there at the Perez household. His dad makes a nice money guac. We had wings and things, money. My dad made some jalapeno poppers, homemade, which were really good.
Solid.
Then they had the halftime. They had a halftime grub. They had some halftime glizzies, Will. Like it was a press box. It was great.
Ooh.
Nice little pick me up in the middle of the day.
I'm assuming that Matt's glizzies, the hot dogs were better than the ones in the press box because those buns are always stale and the hot dogs are always dry in the press box. So I'm assuming that they were better quality and better ingredients on Sunday.
Yes, they were pretty good. I mean, they're freshly cooked hot dogs. I forgot you weren't the guy that was with me for at Dodger Stadium when we did when we went up there to cover it for the fan. We had it was me and Ron Davis went up there, and the hot dog spread for the Dodger Dogs was unreal at at Dodger Stadium. But that's about all they had there at that particular time. But anyway, want to dive into some of the game. Will, what did you do on Super Bowl Sunday?
Wore the Rob Lowe hat to the Super Bowl party. It was fun. There was about 20 people there. What I did notice, it was kind of a smaller house. And what I learned was, and I'm thankful I took advantage, you had to establish the seat that you were sitting in early. And because there was a couple bad angles of where we were at compared to like how big the TV was and the living room. So thankfully I got a good spot. The beds just pissed me off just horribly. I don't want to use any more colorful language than I should, but it was a weird game, to be honest. And we're about to dive into it, but man, I gotta say it sucked in the first, in real time, 45 minutes of that game, which was still like, it felt like the first quarter, just dragged on forever. And it was the worst. And then eventually it got better.
I didn't mind the game. I thought it was entertaining from a football perspective. I was in the game within the game, watching that the entire time. The X's and O's, the chess match. I was having a good time watching that. So I know
so
a lot
okay
of
with it being 0-0 in the first quarter.
I think it's fine. I don't think a score determines how good a game is. If the game was 68-52, like I wouldn't say it's just automatically a great game. To me, the score doesn't determine whether or not a game is good or not. I mean, it's not like both teams were incompetent at moving the football. They're moving the football up and down the field, made some mistakes mixed in. There's both defenses made good stops back and forth. You got a nice trick play touchdown early, and teams found ways to score in different opportunities as well. So I'm not one of those believers that just because the score was low means it wasn't an entertaining football game.
Yeah, no, I think there was a lot of the game within the game stuff. But though, well, I will agree, the first half and the second half were two completely different things.
And then overtime.
Yeah, overtime. I mean, you got free football there.
Did we look at did it not feel long for you guys?
It did. I think it was like the fourth longest.
Like one of the recorded games.
Yeah, it was like the fourth longest game ever.
Like I felt like I was watching Lord of the Rings. Like that's how long I was just sitting there. It was just dragging on, and then yes, it eventually picked up. But you make a good point, Braden. Yeah, it's okay. I know there's other dynamics of the game, the special teams. I mean, shout out to the kickers; they had a solid game. I feel like, and you could definitely tell the nerves kind of set in. McCaffrey fumbling. I think was that inside the red zone, and then you had Pacheco a few possessions later. But they eventually settled in, and I think, what are your thoughts on it overall? Just where do you start? Because I think there's so many different elements to unpack from it, considering how slow it started. But man, it packed a punch when it really got going.
Yeah, I think overall, you could tell that the game was obviously a huge game for both teams. You would think that both of those teams who have been there in that spot before, wouldn't be nervous by the big spot, but they were. You could see that by the way that they both played. Both teams made catastrophic mistakes. They both made catastrophic turnovers. That ultimately, it hurt some, didn't hurt every single time. Obviously, for the Chiefs, they were able to overcome those, but both teams canceled out on the catastrophic turnovers that you can't see. I mean, the fact that the Niners were able to still go into halftime with a lead after fumbling on their opening possession was really impressive. I mean, Kansas City played a terrible first half, an awful first half, and they were down by 7 points at halftime. I mean, they were in that game. They for a while they were down 3 points, and you could be saying that we've played arguably the worst game we've played all year, and we're still only down 3. San Francisco on their side never put Kansas City away, and they had multiple opportunities to do it. And every time that opportunity came knocking, they didn't take advantage of it. They didn't take advantage of the field position in the second half. They didn't take advantage of long drives by putting them in the end zone. They ended up taking field goals. I mean, they were making more mistakes in terms of when you play Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City that you can't make if you want to win, especially in a big game. They stopped running the football in the second half. So I don't know. There was a lot of mistakes by both teams. Kansas City made less mistakes than San Francisco did. And overall, I mean, Kansas City puts themselves in the same conversation as the dynasty of the New England Patriots. But the fact of the matter is, out of the 3 Super Bowls they've won with Mahomes, this is the worst team that they've had out of the 3.
I think you bring up a very fascinating point when you look at the Chiefs and Mahomes, and Brady, and the Pats. There's a lot of similarities, right? You got a Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame head coach, Hall of Fame tight end, and a Hall of Fame kicker. Those are like the 4 areas that you need your guys to show up in the clutch in the playoffs, right? You got that aspect. Mahomes, this is his 3rd Super Bowl, and he's 28. Brady won 3 at the age of 27. Now, it took him 10 more years to get another one, so that's where Mahomes can kind of gain some ground on the whole, I got to chase Tom, I got to be the GOAT, that whole talk right there. And then taking it like one step further, when you're comparing Mahomes to, the GOAT, he has a little bit of that Michael Jordan effect in him, where it's like, when we look back 20, 25 years from now, Will, you got to hang with me here. How will you think about Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, knowing that they're not going to have the same amount of Super Bowl appearances and AFC Championship appearances if they didn't play in the same conference and at the same time as Patrick Mahomes? Same deal with, the stars in basketball from the 90s. They don't have the same amount of hardware as they would have if they weren't playing at the same time as the greatest of all time in Michael Jordan.
I can agree with the sentiment, but Jordan never lost. Like, Mahomes lost. Like, that's the thing. And I think what ekes him the most, and he said it in the postgame, was, this is to your Brady comment. He lost to Brady in the title game, and he lost him in the Super Bowl, and that will never be undone. So I think Mahomes would have to literally get 8 rings to beat that, because that's the ultimate kicker right there, right? Yeah. But no, you make a good point, Matt. I guess we can settle that it is a dynasty. We've seen it now with the Warriors in the last 5 to 10 years. We saw it with the Patriots, obviously. You could go back previous decades with other teams. It's insane how young he is. Yes. And did we see that? Okay, this is a little history lesson for you, Matthew. So did you see Troy Aikman's tweet? Because that was probably one of my favorite tweets that was quoted over the weekend.
Yes, the one from 2019 where he's like, "Oh, at me when he's got 33% of my rings."
Yeah, so the Athletic put out some, we can post it. The stat about, his touchdown, in games that Mahomes had played up until that point with Aikman. And then, yes, Aikman's retort was Super Bowls, and he already has it. But, was this more of did Shanahan have a meltdown, or was it just that Mahomes is that good?
Nobody wants to talk about Andy Reid. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that Andy Reid's calling the plays, and Andy Reid had a phenomenal game in the second half. Do we want to forget about that?
Should we talk about the Chiefs analytics officer that knew the overtime rules that apparently didn't exist with San Francisco either?
Yeah, well, see, that
didn't exist to Tony Romo.
Then he went on, but then they went on to say we wanted to get the ball, third, which regardless if that was actually the case or not, it is a little bit justified in a sense that based on the overtime rules, if you get the ball first and you score a touchdown, and then they drive down and score a touchdown, then next score wins, right?
Unless they go for 2.
I know, unless they go for 2, but then you're setting yourself up for, you get the ball last,
right?
Or you make a 2-point conversion stop, right? So I can understand where he's coming from on that, but it didn't really sound like anybody else on the team knew what that was. So I feel like that was a post-game kind of recollection. But I think there's something to be said about practicing that in camp. When you practice that in camp, that means when you have that mindset that we're going to be there and in that spot and we got to be ready for it. Good teams and great organizations that win championships at all levels of sports, they account for those things. They know those things. When I was at Cathedral, after I graduated, they went to the CIF championship again in 2014, and they played San Pasqual in the D1 championship when they're flipping all the divisions, and it went to overtime. It went to college football overtime. I think it went to like double or triple overtime, if I'm not mistaken, at Qualcomm Stadium. And before, I wasn't a player, but I was on the sideline. My dad was coaching. I was the alumni in the Letterman's jacket on the sideline. And I remember before overtime happened, Coach Doyle brought everybody together before overtime started and said, and explained to us the rules. Okay, this is what it's going to be. And he's like, it's like college football overtime, yada, yada, yada. But if you get an interception or a turnover, you can return it for points and you will win, right? I think it's like the second or third overtime. San Pasqual throws a pick. Jack Onstadt jumps in front as a linebacker, picks it off, starts running it back. San Pasqual's players think it's just a turnover, like a 2-point conversion, or like in high school overtime that's not in the playoffs where the ball is just dead. They don't even try to tackle him. And Onstadt runs 90-something yards back the other way for a walk-off touchdown, and San Pasqual's sitting there going like, what happened? And they're like, you lost. Like, he could return it. They didn't know what the rules were. So there's something to be said about, teams that practice that and go over those things. My thing is, and I saw that, I can't take credit for this, but I find it very interesting. What if San Francisco scored a touchdown on that first drive? Knowing what you know now, like they didn't know the rules, right? Would they have stormed the field thinking they won the game?
I wouldn't be surprised if some of
they probably would have stormed the field thinking they won the game, right?
And
I mean, how deflating would that be if you thought you won the Super Bowl and then it was like, oh, they get the ball regardless? Same thing. Like I didn't even realize the clock didn't even matter because they put these overtime rules in after Kansas City and nobody has used them at all until now. There hasn't been any overtime in the postseason with the new playoff format or the new overtime format. So this is the first time for everybody. I always remember looking at the clock going like, well, San Francisco the clock runs out. Kansas City's in trouble. They're going to have to kick a field goal because they're going to run out of time, not knowing that the clock didn't even matter because Kansas City got to finish their drive regardless. It was just going to flip to a second quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all the things that Kansas City had going into the season that they practiced that San Francisco obviously did not do. But my thing for Andy Reid, I mean, the 4th-and-1 play call in that final drive in overtime was phenomenal. Man coverage, they went to an option look with Travis Kelce. Nobody accounted for Mahomes, ripped off a big run. That's not – I mean, Patrick Mahomes had to make the play, but when nobody is covering you and you rip off 20 yards, I mean, that's a lot of that has to do with scheme. I mean, I'm not taking away from Mahomes, but you got to give Andy Reid credit. The other one, too, and Perez and I were talking about this live when it happened, was – it was 3rd and medium to 3rd and long, and San Francisco went for a blitz. It was like the next set of chains, and they blitzed Mahomes because they get a big play. I mean, that's it. They're going to have to – then they're in real trouble where a 4th down, they don't convert. It's over. So San Francisco brings the house, which means they're bringing they brought at least 6, which means you have to go man coverage in the secondary. They go man coverage in the secondary, and Andy Reid runs mesh, which usually against man isn't necessarily the best thing because it's a longer developing play. But he ran mesh against San Francisco, and the inside, they didn't have inside leverage in the man coverage, and Rashee Rice busted on the inside on the DB, and he had a step in front, bang, and they almost ran it like it was a screen pass. I mean, it was just play after play after play. Andy Reid was on top of things throughout the entire game. And I don't think, even though he wasn't scheming against Kyle Shanahan one-on-one because they're both offensive coaches, he had a better game than Shanahan did.
So there's 2 things that you said there that I want to just have a comment on it real quick. First, about Andy Reid, I saw this stat, which is pretty impressive. Since 2019, when the Chiefs started their whole run, right, they're 5-1 in games in the playoffs when they're losing by 10 points or more. The one loss was against Tom Brady, right? The rest of the league in that scenario is 6-48. 6-48. Like, that is an absurd, variance, I guess, in how good Andy Reid is as a play caller when he's down points. And flip that against Kyle Shanahan, where he has one win when he's losing going into the fourth quarter by like 10 points or more. And the one win was against the Lions, or it was against the Packers earlier this year in the playoffs. That tells you what you need to know about these coaches and kind of how they build their teams. The Chiefs are more built to either play with the lead, obviously, or to play from behind, because Mahomes is a pure drop back passer. And the 49ers don't really have that with Brock. Because when you think about their passing game, it's screens, it's play actions, it's stuff to kind of keep the lead and kind of build on it, not to be chasing 10, 12, 14 points. And then on that 4th and 1, where Mahomes kept it, I don't know what Nick Bosa was thinking, crashing in on the running back. Like if it's 4th and 1, you think that they're going to go ride or die with Isaiah Pacheco, or are they going to go ride or die with Patrick Mahomes?
Well, I mean but like that's like
why he crashed. Like,
but that's
he sold out on.
You got to have some, but like
that's,
think about it.
That's
though. Like if you're Andy Reid,
that's pre-read like responsibilities though.
But
like you either have running back, you have quarterback, and you lay it out, which means the linebacker had quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Linebacker is nowhere to be found.
But that's how you structure it. So Bosa probably thought he had running back responsibility, and so what you teach the guys, it's like you always have instead of them getting confused, right, and going like, which guy do I hit? Like he either hits the mesh point, or you already established ahead of time in your pregame and your pre-planning. Like, all right, D line's always going to take running back, and then my outside guys are going to take quarterback, or middle linebackers going to take, regardless. So that was probably a predetermined thing on that one.
I just have a hard time thinking like, okay, hey, if I'm, if I were thinking about it, I couldn't picture Andy Reid in the post-game presser after going for it on 4th and 1 being like, oh yeah, we're going to give it to our running back, instead of putting it in the hands of the best player in the sport.
Right. But like, if you're Nick Bosa, you can't just be like thinking for yourself, right? Because then what happens is he goes and kills the quarterback, and then Pacheco rips up, and his responsibility was the running back. And he'd be like, well, I thought in that situation, Mahomes was going to get the ball. They're going to be like, we didn't tell you to do that. You're supposed to get running back, right?
Well, we'll probably never know the real answer. Or at least
I mean, but I don't know what their scheme was.
Put yourself in Bosa's
We're not going to know until later.
Well, most of the time, like you have your outside guys, they got quarterback always.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that is when you run it defensively with any type of read option team, is you teach, if you have your outside guys hit the quarterback every time, even if they give the ball off, they have that presence of like, I'm here. Like, I'm going to be here all day. Like, you pull it.
It's Max Crosby video.
You pull it, I'm going to ear hole you. So, maybe that was a miss on Bosa on that one, but those are usually like kind of predetermined things. But that happens all the time. I mean, I could tell a D lineman all the time, or outside linebacker, like, hey, you got quarterback, and then he just kills the running back for no reason. I mean, I've seen that on film. It was a great call.
It was schemed. It was a great call. That's why it worked. Like, there's too many like what ifs, because where was the other like help over the top? Like, it was an excellent call, and Mahomes, to his credit, is able to pull that off because he can read it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he would have tried to pass it too. I know it didn't happen, and then if you flip it as well, San Francisco, Matt, you were talking about Purdy. What was it, 3 straight possessions in the second half when they didn't score? I think they went 3 and out. And then you have Mahomes throw the pick, because that should have been the kiss of death right there. If they go and score, that game's over. Like, it is.
Yeah, they scored 17-3.
They should have
basically coming out.
And they let them hang around. And the live line at that time was plus 360. I want to say it was almost 4-1 for the Chiefs to come back and win. Everyone, if you were smart, would have thrown just a little bit on it, because that's when you knew. You were like, San Francisco blew it. You cannot give Mahomes life. We've seen this now how many times? And we've seen it at the regular season. We've seen it in the AFC title game. We've seen it in the divisional game. We've seen it now in the Super Bowl. And they blew it. Quite frankly, they just blew it.
We're talking about the that final play, right? The 4th and 1 on the final drive. That's the play you're talking about. See, like, the other thing that makes that play work is San Francisco's in a man defense, right? So you have everybody account for your linebacker responsibilities in a man more times than not. Is you got first back towards you, second back away. So the linebackers bit on Pacheco, which means, and if Bosa went and takes out Pacheco too, which means he's probably supposed to have pitch man, which would be Mahomes, and everybody else is in man coverage. They're running downfield. So once you get outside Bosa, there's nobody's accounted for. Nobody's accounted for Patrick Mahomes. So, I mean, the more you think about it, if they're in Bosa definitely screwed his assignment up. His assignment has to be quarterback every single time, but that's still a pre-snap thing. That's where you're tired and you're not thinking and you're just playing, and that's a major fall to your defense there. But that's a big reason why that play worked. A huge reason why it worked. The Aztecs won. How about that?
You're
oh yeah.
You just said about Bosa being tired, right? It goes to what Will just said about the Niners coming out and having 3 straight 3-and-outs. And it's like
you could say that too. It's just like the magnitude of the game. That was for the game, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're on San Francisco's defense, you're thinking to yourself, if we make one stop, we're champs.
Yeah.
And they didn't get it done. Like it's
well, I think the thing that really killed the Niners, and I don't know how much this is being talked about, but their second down play calling was horrible. Like after that pick, I think they passed it or something on first down, and it was still 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, and they run a pitch with McCaffrey, and boom, they go minus 4 yards, and it knocks them out of field goal range or on like the brink of it, and then it turns into 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14 against a very good Chiefs defense with a very good defensive coordinator, and they come up empty, and it kind of felt that way for the entire third quarter. And that was kind of their main like undoing, because whatever you do on third down is a product of what you do on second down, Braden. I mean, you know this, you coach football.
You don't want to put yourself behind the sticks ever.
Right. And they were putting themselves behind the sticks, or there was holding penalties. They had one in the fourth when time was running down. They had a first down on like a 2nd and 2 or something like that.
Holding penalties killed it. But they had a false start and a holding on a back.
And then it goes into 2nd and 12. And Brock Purdy's not going to win you a game converting 3rd and 12s, all these 3rd and longs.
Our boy,
like how other guys can, like guys like Mahomes.
Our boy Ron had a good comment. He said he felt like the 49ers were really trying to make it be the Purdy game and went away from CMC. I totally believe that. I mean, in the third quarter when they got when they had the ball, they had Kansas City on the ropes, and they could have put him away. And what was killing them all day? It was CMC. I know he fumbled, but so did Pacheco. It's like you got to keep feeding him the rock. He's your entire offense.
Yeah.
I mean, look at
he's your best player on offense.
I did the full breakdown on my show on Saturday. I looked it up. I was like, I'll look up what the Niners' main formation is that they do, and kind of see exactly what they're because I know what their bread and butter is. It's running, right?
Yeah,
it's a run game, but they like to do a lot of tight sets, like everything's in tight, whether it be tight bunch, whether it be tight doubles, and they love pre-snap motions because that really opens up a lot of things. It's like McDaniel down in Miami. He uses Tyreek Hill for pre-snap motions, which is very difficult to stop. And what they do, I mean, gash with the run, gash with the run, gash with the run. What do the linebackers do? They're coming up on run, coming up on run, coming up on run. And then the biggest thing that they've had success in with CMC, off the runs, the play action and across the middle. And if you got like a tight bunch to the left, right? So your point man's Debo, you got Ayuk on the outside, you got George Kittle in the slot. And then on the backside, you got Ray McLeod or whatever. Jawan Jennings, right? Another receiver.
Should have been the MVP.
If you can motion. I mean, just that is a deadly setup with McCaffrey in the backfield. You pre-snap motion Kittle over the other side. And if he stops like a kind of a wing spot, now what happens? You have an extra gap you have to worry about, which means you got to flip your front, you got to flip your defense, you got to flip the coverage in the back, and then you open up other windows, especially if you go McCaffrey towards Kittle. You got them outflanked if they don't bump over. So they have to bump over. Otherwise, you got McCaffrey going against some defense that's going to have somebody responsible for 2 gaps, which is not a successful defensive plan. So they're all biting on that. Linebackers have to have gap responsibility on that, so they immediately bite. You run Debo across the middle. You have Ayuk over the top. So if the safety jumps Debo, you got Ayuk. If the safety goes with Ayuk, you got Debo across the middle. And they've hit those guys a lot. I mean, it wouldn't just be Kittle in motion. You could motion Debo as well, and you got Kittle as a safety net. And those were the plays that Brock Purdy have done so well in all year. Look at his stats. His middle of the field, in between the hash numbers, his quarterback rating when he hits receivers in that spot is like top in the league. It's like top in the league. And they got away from that. They got away from the play action. They got away from the run. It was almost like they had to prove a point that Brock Purdy was a Super Bowl winning quarterback, when the reality is he's not that guy.
It's back on Shanahan. Who calls the plays? It was Shanahan.
Did.
Shanahan was like, at some point, I got to get Brock this MVP. He wanted to silence everyone. He's going to deny it too, because he's arrogant and apparently doesn't know overtime rules. And that's what screwed him. And he's going to have to think about that for, what is it now, 8 months? Like, is it in that moment too? You know, it's like, to get to that, the highest level, right? At the magnitude of that game, it's like, how do you forget? Like, you've been playing now for 20 weeks almost. It's like, do they just get too cute? Do they try to get, it's like, if you know what's working, why do you steer away from it? I never understand that. And maybe it is pressure. Maybe some guys are, coaches can handle it. Like Reed obviously has demonstrated he can handle that. And now Shanahan is now what, in 3 big games, 2 as a head coach and 1 as an OC, couldn't get it done.
They had leads like late in the 3rd and late in the 4th in all 3 of those Super Bowls, and were unable to win those games. He's going to have nightmares about that. Before we transition to our next thing, I do want to ask you, do the Niners give Brock Purdy a contract extension when he's up?
Yeah.
Do they re-sign him?
Brock Purdy, I don't know how I would be able to lace up cleats in August or July, whenever their training camp starts, without a new contract.
I don't sign him.
I mean, but it's like, you got to put yourself in the Brock's shoes, right? You're like, hey, I've taken this team to back-to-back NFC title games and to a Super Bowl.
You're Brock and his agent.
You got to pay me.
You're Brock and his agent. You want Justin Herbert's contract right now.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
Absolutely. But if you're the Niners, you're going to give him that? Absolutely not.
No.
The reason why the Niners are good is they can get away with not paying their quarterback a lot of money, because they got guys in other spots.
Yeah.
Who are you getting rid of on the Niners? Who are you getting rid of? You got to get rid of one of those guys. You can't have the D-line you have and pay Brock Purdy $50 million a year. You can't have Brock Purdy and Debo Samuel. Like, you have to start getting rid of players. Who are you getting rid of to keep Brock Purdy? And when you start taking these guys away, right, now Ayuk wants out. You see,
he needs a contract.
He needs a contract.
Bosa is on the hook next year for a large
lot.
Amount.
Have you seen his
like John Lynch kicked the can down the road on all these contracts, and now they have to face it. Or if he wants to just keep doing that, at some point, sure, yeah, you can, just do some gymnastics with the cap. But to answer your question, Braden, yes, he deserves that money. Like, no question about it. And if I'm his camp, I would. Why not?
If you're an NFL team, you can't give that guy that contract and expect him to win you a Super Bowl. They did it with Joe Flacco, and it went to shit so fast. And that happens a lot. And you're going to see it with Jalen Hurts. You're going to see it with Jalen Hurts.
What is San Francisco supposed to do then? What did they do?
Here's the thing. Like, where you find yourself in quarterback purgatory is when you find a quarterback that's good enough to get you to the Super Bowl, but he's not good enough to win for you. If you can get yourself a quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl on a rookie deal, that's great. But the thing is if you know that he can't do that being the guy, then you're in purgatory, because it's like, you can't, what am I supposed to do? He's still a good enough quarterback to win me games the regular season. He's still a good enough quarterback to get me in the playoffs, but he's never going to be the Drew Brees or the Patrick Mahomes or the Tom Brady, the Peyton Manning, the guy that can win with nothing around him or limited around him, or the guy that people are going to take pay cuts to go play for. I mean, people are going to take pay cuts to go play for Mahomes. Are they doing that for Brock Purdy? Like, oh, Brock Purdy's going to take me to the promised land. Do you think Brandon Ayuk right now is fired up about Brock Purdy?
No.
I don't think so either.
That's his guy. He loves him. Yeah. That's his best friend.
But the thing is, it's like, if you're...
Brock's going to get him $30 million a year.
Yeah, from the Panthers.
Yeah, but like, some bad team will give him a huge contract, right? And then he won't have Trent Williams as his left tackle, and he won't have Christian McCaffrey as his running back, and he won't have Deebo Samuel, and he won't have Brandon Ayuk, and he won't have George Kittle, and he won't have Kyle Juszczyk. And then you see what type of a player he is. I mean, I think he does a good job running the offense. I think he does a good job managing, what the expectations are. He very rarely turns the ball over. He does the smart play. He can keep plays alive with his legs, not as spectacular as some quarterbacks, but the main reason why the Niners are doing so well is their team is loaded, and then they don't have the money in the quarterback. And what happened when it mattered? Brock Purdy got you 3 points twice, and Patrick Mahomes scored touchdowns. And they're the winners, and San Francisco's going home again without a Super Bowl.
But don't you want to be on that stage, though? Because at that point, what is San Francisco? What are they going to draft another guy? Are they going to bring in Kirk Cousins?
Trey Lance again?
Are they going to? Yeah, Trey Lance. Yeah, totally. I get what you're saying, Brady. I just, you got to think, if you're some of these teams, you just want that opportunity to get to. That's all you want, right? Like that. You obviously want the Super Bowl, yes, but it is so hard to not only get there but to win it. It's like, we saw it this year. How many times did we see backup quarterbacks because of injuries or because they got benched? Like, it's hard to play the position. That's why there's only 32 positions, in the entire plan. There's 32 guys that are going to play that. I don't know what you do if you're San Francisco. Like, at some point, you just have to look at yourself, and John Lynch is going to have to, go to his EVP and as well as Kyle Shanahan and say, do we pay Brock Purdy? What? How much is Herbert making? Like, going to be
like $50 million,
right? Annually.
I'm not paying him that. Again, you have to start cutting some of these Niner players off the roster. Are they still as good? Can Brock Purdy carry that team? So Patrick Mahomes can do it.
What's your plan for the Niners then if you don't want to pay Brock Purdy?
You have to go draft another quarterback. You got to go find another quarterback fit your system.
That's like roulette. You don't know what.
Yeah, but
get.
But there's.
Then you're the Chicago Bears.
But go through the NFL. Like, go through the quarterbacks. There's a lot of guys that I'd rather have than Brock Purdy.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like
when you're saying that, like, are you like the mid-tier guys? Like, obviously you want Burrow. Obviously you want guys like Herbert. You want Allen. You want Lamar Jackson.
What I'm saying is, you can't give Brock Purdy a top 5 contract for quarterbacks if he is a top 15 player.
No, but he's a quarterback, and it's a position with the most leverage on the football.
Right, field. But you're signing yourself up to not be successful.
It's the nature of the NFL.
But that's how you don't win. That's how you don't win. That's why the Niners have been successful, because they haven't given into those major contracts with quarterbacks that don't deserve it. If they had a guy like Justin Herbert roll through, yeah, give him the contract. They're going to have success regardless of who's around Justin Herbert. Same thing with Joe Burrow. Same thing with Josh Allen. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. If you take McCaffrey and Deebo off that Niners team and replace them with average players in those positions, so the Niners in the Super Bowl. Are they in the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the team that would be in the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. You have to eliminate some of these other players because you can't afford them and replace them with either rookies or mid-tier players in the National Football League that you can afford. You can't pay everybody.
Them thinking that, okay, maybe, hey, in year 7 and year 8, you're able to take, the Isaiah Pacheco's and the Rashee Rices of the world all the way to, where they were this year, right? In the Super Bowl. But going back to just finding a quarterback, the Niners did this, and they spent the number 3 overall pick on Trey Lance.
That was dumb.
And it didn't work out.
That was dumb.
But
he was never going to be good.
But that is the premier spot to find a franchise-altering quarterback for the next 15 years.
And they screwed it up.
Right.
They had other guys. They screwed that up. And then they got lucky that Brock Purdy could run that offense.
Right. So if he can run the offense and the coach is there, then that's what you have to roll with. Because you just can't be throwing darts on a dartboard. Hey, man, I really hope, pick number 25 is going to pan out for us.
They're going to be the Ravens, dude. They're not. You can't do it in the National Football League. You can't spend a ton of money on a quarterback that's not going to carry you and give them the money of carrying the team and expect to win.
Well, wasn't this
You can't do it.
I mean, these two teams on how they're built is the exact polar opposites of each other. A team that gave a quarterback $500 million over 10 years and said, all right, carry us. Right.
But Mahomes is
And
the
but he can
anomaly,
do
though.
it. That's what I'm saying. He can do it.
Right. And then with the 49ers, we're going to build a super team around a cheap rookie deal on like our quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what happens. And they got you to overtime at the damn Super Bowl.
But it wasn't because of Brock Purdy.
No, but it goes to your point of what you just said of getting a quarterback on a rookie deal, and he's been the best quarterback on the rookie deal in the last 2 to 3 years.
He's surrounded by studs.
But that's how you build your team.
Right, but what I'm saying is once you pay him that contract, your team is not good anymore.
Right, but you can't not pay him and just hope you find another Brock Purdy.
No.
The Patriots aren't going to find another Tom
But
Brady
you also can't just say we have to sign this guy. It's like it's the same. No, it's the same thing like the Padres with Manny Machado, except he's way better than Brock Purdy. But the reality was like he did so many great things for the Padres, right? You have to pay him. You have to give him the 10-year contract extension. Does that make any sense from a standpoint of paying the man until he's 42 years old? From a business in a roster standpoint, it makes no sense.
Well, no, it has to be 42.
Same thing with Xander Bogaerts. That's what I'm saying. 42. Like, but what I'm saying is, just because he got you there doesn't mean he's going to get you there in the future when you have to start eliminating talent around him.
Right. But you
don't have to be obligated to paying.
They don't have a guy
because he's a quarterback.
You do in today's NFL.
You're not going to be good. You're not going to win. You're signing yourself up to not win. You're signing yourself up to have a mediocre quarterback. And then in 3 years, people are going to be like, why the fuck do you still have this guy? And it's like, well, he got us to a Super Bowl. I mean, you can't have the philosophy that just because he's the quarterback of your team, he's the sole reason you got to the Super Bowl. You can't pay Brock Purdy $50 million freaking dollars and then start cutting down your roster and be like, it's going to be great. Look at the Seahawks. What did the Seahawks started doing once Russell Wilson started losing all of his guys?
Well,
they started to suck.
I can flip
they
that on
started
you and say,
to
look at
suck.
the Redskins.
If
they
Shanahan
started
been
to
there for
suck.
7 seasons,
As soon as he got rid of Kirk
he doesn't
Cousins,
have time
they
anymore.
haven't been over 500.
Right, but Kirk Cousins,
the Raiders are horrible.
Kirk Cousins is way better than Brock Purdy.
Right, but is Kirk Cousins going to take you to a Super Bowl?
He's in the caliber of quarterbacks that could take you to a Super Bowl.
I don't know.
Because
he's better
of that
than Brock
system,
Purdy,
or because he can actually
because
get
he's good. Like, look what he's got. I mean, I know he's got JJ now, but he was hurt a lot of the time, and Kirk Cousins is good enough to win you games and get you. Look at Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford had nothing. He had nothing this year.
Way more talented.
But what I'm saying, that's a guy you can pay that contract to and win around him with not as many guys. You understand what I'm saying? There's only a select number of quarterbacks that can do it. My thing is, you'd be making a catastrophic mistake giving Brock Purdy $50 million a year, knowing that the talent around him is not going to be as good, or he's not going to be able to thrive like he currently does. It's a perfect match right now. It's a perfect match. The same thing with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. He's got weapons. They can run stuff off play action. They can open up doors. They can make things easier for him. He can manage the game. He has an opportunity. He's set up for success. But when the guy is not set up for success, can he still succeed? There are only probably a select few quarterbacks that can do it. That's why you see the same teams battling for a Super Bowl each and every year. It's because the quarterback position is so rare to find that elite player. And the problem is every time a team does well, they assume, and I say they, I mean media and fans assume that quarterback is just some elite quarterback. And then when they start losing the talent, then all of a sudden they start going, this guy sucks, which is both unfair. It's unfair to say, my perfect example is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, when he first came to the league, this guy's the greatest player ever. And then he has 2 down years, and then they say, this guy sucks. He can't get the job done. Then he goes and has an MVP type season. And then you know what happens in the playoffs? He has a bad game, and guess what everybody says? He can't get it done in the playoffs. The Ravens got to move on. I mean, it's it's the narrative is ridiculous on these quarterbacks of the picture that they paint. But all I'm trying to say is you can't just pay a quarterback that was your quarterback in the Super Bowl $50 million a year and your highest paid player if he's not actually your best player on your roster, because you got the NFL, you got to start cutting back on other spots.
I think
he still has another year though, right?
Up here.
Right? It's not till after
he's got another year. So he's got another year where they don't have to pay him anything.
They don't. It's like that's it. That's
right.
the
right.
do
But
or
then
die
this is his year to
right there.
Come to John Lynch and say, "Hey, give me my money, or I'm going to hold out or do whatever." Not saying he would, but it's theoretically on the table.
Jimmy Garoppolo got him to the Super Bowl. They didn't keep him.
Moved off of him,
right? And you know what they found? They found Brock Purdy
after they put all their eggs in the Trey Lance basket.
Trey Lance was never going to be good, dude. Like that was a bad pick.
So
that was a bad, and everybody knew when they drafted him, and they were like, "That's a bad pick." I mean, who else went in that draft?
Mac Jones.
That was the Trevor Lawrence draft.
Yeah,
that was the Zach
Trevor
Wilson
Lawrence,
draft.
Justin Fields.
That was the Mac Jones and Justin
if Trevor
Fields.
Lawrence was on the Niners, they would have won the Super Bowl.
Maybe, but I
they
don't think you can
won.
plug any player into the 49ers.
What?
I don't think you can plug any quarterback into the 49ers offense and be
I don't think so, but
Super Bowl.
They win with CJ Stroud. They win. I think they win with 15 to 16 quarterbacks in the National Football League.
Right.
So then would Mahomes be Mahomes if he wasn't on the Chiefs then? Like if you were to flip it, like it's all scheme, it's all fit. You just said it's a perfect match.
Well, if it's all scheme, then why would you pay Brock Purdy? Because you have to.
I don't.
Nobody says you have to. I dump him. You need an alternative.
I don't think
like
Lynch
you
would.
Need an alternative.
They don't want to go through the what they have to go through to get a quarterback. Like everyone, the media never really. Not saying you, just everyone in general. All the talking heads, especially like ESPN, they don't realize how hard it is to get to have someone just be serviceable at that position. Again, we saw it. How many quarterbacks played this year that weren't start exactly? So I think like. Do I agree? Yeah, I wouldn't. I would really, really be hesitant to give him that money. But if he leverages, okay. So let's say this:
what if the Niners?
If you can tell the 49ers get to the NFC title game next year, but we can't say if they win or lose. Are you still not paying them, or are you still like if you were John Lynch, you would say no, we're going to move like. But and then it's crazy because like where do you go from there?
Let's say Dak doesn't have a deal yet, does he?
He has another year on his contract,
right? But like,
he'll get a new deal.
Let's say Dak becomes a free agent. You're the Niners. You paying Dak?
Yeah,
I'd pay Dak.
Pay him. The Falcons.
I'd pay him.
Dak.
I'd pay Dak. Would you pay Jared Goff?
But it's not about just paying the money for the guy on the thing. It's about like a team like the Redskins after Kirk Cousins left. Sam Howell's has been the first quarterback to start like 2 consecutive years for him. And this is 2023 season.
They're bad all over the place.
Right. But it shows you that you can't just find a quarterback.
Yeah, but they're not. But the Redskins and the Niners are 2 totally different teams because it's not like Kirk Cousins left a loaded Redskins Commanders team.
No, but they
left a mediocre team and he made them better. He wasn't the beneficiary. He wasn't the benefactor of the Commanders. The Commanders were the benefactor of Kirk Cousins.
So then how would you explain
Brock Purdy is
Lance?
Brock Purdy is the benefactor of the 49ers. Fuck Trey Lance. He sucks. He's not a good player. He's not a good player. You're just
Matt loves Trey Lance.
Well, what would you say? What would you say about Charlie Whitehurst being the quarterback of the Niners? Yeah, that's not going to work. He's not a good
What's wrong
player.
With Matt
you grab the guy that's.
What's wrong with
I know.
Jesus?
You get a guy
Matt
that's
loves
just
North Dakota State.
You just get a guy. You're just inserting some random name of this. They use a wasted draft pick. If you look at the 2025 free agents for quarterbacks, because Purdy's going to be a free agent that year because they're going to have to pay him. Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, your boy Trey Lance, Tua, Taylor Heineke, Jared Stidham, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Mike White, Mac Jones. I mean, there's a lot of blah in there too, but I am more willing to pay some of those players the contract that Purdy wants over Brock Purdy.
but none of those players that you would pay are probably going to be free agents.
They might get scooped up by their own team, but
Like,
you never know.
Dak
I mean,
won't, Tua won't,
like the Jaguars
Jared
are
Goff won't.
the Jaguars are dumb. You know, you don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, Jerry might screw up the Dak Prescott thing. Maybe he wants to test the open market. You know, I mean, there's always guys, there's always other players available.
Cooper Rush is a backup.
Here's the problem with giving Brock Purdy $50 million a year is you're stuck paying that dude, and you turn into the Atlanta Falcons with Matt Ryan, and you're in cap hell for life.
Yeah, he took you to the Super Bowl. Had
Yeah,
MVP.
you know what? He took you to the Super Bowl, and then you're in hell for 5 years after that because you know what?
Well, thank God, life in the NFL.
Thank God he took. Welcome to the life of bad teams that don't win. That's why those other teams, the teams that win, pay quarterbacks that are worth the money that they are paying for. They have to be worth that money. You can't just say, I have to pay him because he's a quarterback. You can't live by that philosophy, is all I'm trying to say, because where you overpay the quarterback, you have to underpay other positions that are major factors in the National Football League. And the teams that overcome that are the teams that can let Tom Brady go out there and shred. Let Drew Brees go out there and shred, knowing that every time Aaron Rodgers touches the ball, 2 minutes left, he's going to drive down the field and score. I don't necessarily know that's the case with Brock Purdy if you take some of these players off this team.
Well, you don't know yet, but also
are you willing to?
Let me tell you about Trey Lance.
Yeah, here's Trey Lance again.
No. But the Niners, all their players that are studs that you're talking about, right? Debo, Kittle, Trent Williams. If you look on the defensive side, Warner, Greenlaw, Ward, the corner, all these guys. Not like they were first round picks or guys that they shilled out a bunch of money for. Like the Niners are a very good organization that can draft and coach,
except for Trey Lance,
get players to all pro levels. So you're telling me that since you pay Brock Purdy, all these guys are just going to leave the building that have helped Fred Warner become an all-pro linebacker, but that have helped Debo Samuel.
They're all talented players. I mean, you would have to roll the dice in replacing all of them. But right now they're at their height. Right. So you have to replace those guys with then new guys, and then all of a sudden those guys are not you're not at the same height anymore.
Well, that's why you have scouts.
They have to win
coaches,
next year.
And you have a front office that you pay millions of dollars to.
But why would you hamper yourself by giving Brock Purdy all this money?
Because he's shown you that he could lead.
But has he shown you that he can do it without an enormous amount of talent?
Well, we don't live in the simulation where it's going to, all right, hey, Brock, we're going to take everybody away and replay the
Have you seen
season.
We saw 3 games this year when McCaffrey, a combination of McCaffrey, Kittle, and Debo were not active or were injured. And
what did they do? What did they do? They got their ass kicked. They did. They went down to Jacksonville and got their ass kicked. They looked like shit.
They lost to Cleveland.
Yeah.
In Cleveland.
They went 0-3 when
they lost to Minnesota on Monday night.
They looked like
Cleveland and Minnesota. Yeah, I remember.
They lost to Jacksonville. You were drunk at Texas Live. They were getting their ass kicked in Jacksonville. And Brock Purdy was making all these mistakes. And you're like, oh, this Niners team's not very good. Not you. I'm just saying people in general. And it's like,
that's even a bigger reason you have to give him $50 million now.
That's a worse reason. Will just prove my point. You just proved my point.
He's a guy in his 19th career start. Oh, well.
You're making excuses.
That's why I'm saying
out and be Patrick Mahomes every single game.
We're having a premature conversation though. Like it's next year because right now they have the shortest odds to win the Super Bowl. So I mean they're favorited, which is still pretty crazy because they don't have to shell out all the money yet. So that's why I'm saying it's money. Like if San Francisco somehow gets to the NFC title game next year, I mean that's even more. But that's why they're a good organization. I'll give San Francisco that. Like they deserve the flowers. We're not the only ones talking about this, right? Like they're forecasting certain scenarios, down the line, which I hope they would, about this. But yeah, I mean, think of like Niners fans, like would they be okay? Actually, I don't know. They're delusional, so they would probably be okay with getting $50 million to Purdy, and they would probably want Trey Lance back, just like Matt, because he seems to be the president of the fan club.
He loves Trey Lance. Jeff King, but who would be successful without those guys? Patrick Mahomes, elite quarterback, can carry the team. He's got Kelsey, Pacheco, and Rice. It's pretty solid, but he had arguably one of the worst receiving cores all season, and he still made it. I mean, this Chiefs team he has had is not nearly as good as it was the first time he won a Super Bowl, and he's still been able to win without all the guys.
And that's what's so annoying. They're gonna get better.
CJ Stroud had nothing. He had nothing all year, and he got them to the playoffs. I mean, that was a team that was supposed to be absolute dog shit, and they made the playoffs. I mean, that's a guy that can get it done without enormous amount of talent around him. You can say the same thing about Trevor Lawrence last year, made the playoffs, did the same thing. Justin Herbert is a good quarterback without talent. Josh Allen is always missing a running game. He has to do everything by himself. Joe Burrow has had zero offensive line since he got to the league. He made it to the Super Bowl as well.
And beat Mahomes straight up in the title game in Kansas City.
I got a quick timeout here.
I messed up the Jacksonville.
Yeah, you messed up the Jacksonville.
But they
game.
still were
134 to
They were still
anyway,
0-3 without Christian McCaffrey Debo combination.
Who was the third team?
Those
Who
are
did
talented players.
Just look at their loss, probably. Just look up their season.
I think it was
they didn't look
Cincinnati.
nearly as good.
Oh, that's on us. Hand up. That's on us. We weren't. It was a rainy game. I remember they got their asses beat in a rainy game.
I think you're thinking of the Browns game.
No, I know they lost the Browns. I
Minnesota.
know they lost Minnesota.
Yeah, they lost to the Bengals 31-17. Bengals kicked.
There you go. Yes, that was like Burrow's last healthy game because I think he hurt his thumb like 2 weeks later or a week later.
Brock Purdy led the Niners in rushing. 6 carries.
Yeah, that's $50 million right there.
Yep, that's worth it.
Niners did it on Sunday. He won a Super Bowl leading his team in rushing.
Niners without Debo that game. They were without Debo that game. They lost. The other game that they had that they lost was who else did they lose to? You said they lost to Cleveland?
Yeah.
Cleveland, Minnesota, and
the Minnesota game was ridiculous. Minnesota was like on their last leg already at that point.
That was the game that Kurt tore his Achilles too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But that was another game that McCaffrey wasn't involved with, right? Oh, they lost to the Falcons too.
They did?
Or was that the preseason?
That has to be a preseason game.
Yeah, well, I don't know about
October
that.
16th, dude. They lost to the Falcons 28-14. Or is that 2 years ago? I'm trying to find the game.
I don't think they played the Falcons last
No, they
year.
didn't. No, that was from dude, I hate the schedule where they just load it all up to the same thing. I was like, there's no way they lost to the Falcons.
Can I ask you guys this really fast too? Just in speaking of like contract leverage, if you're Brock Purdy, is he the best quarterback in the NFC?
No,
not
even close. You're asking dude. He's gonna say Dak Prescott.
I can name 3 quarterbacks better. 4.
Ooh.
He's not even the best quarterback. He's not even the best quarterback in his. He's not even the best quarterback in his division.
4.
Okay, so you're taking Stafford ahead of him.
Stafford's better than him.
You're taking Jared Goff over him?
I'll give you Dak.
I'd take Goff.
You take Jordan Love over
Jared
Goff or Brock Purdy?
Goff.
Jared Goff. I'd take Kyler Murray over Brock Purdy.
No.
You take Kyler Murray? Really? Okay.
I would totally take Kyler Murray.
He doesn't have anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
I like Kyler Murray.
I mean, he's fragile and he's
had
gonna.
DeAndre Hopkins and Zach Ertz. Let's not say that he hasn't had anybody.
Zach Ertz.
Post
Eagles Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz has been hooping.
This guy says he's got people and he names Zach Ertz.
Well,
retired
he has
Zach
nobody.
Ertz.
He's acting like he's throwing a Joe Schmo out there. Yeah,
the all Matt team, Trey Lance and Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz. D Hop. The guy's running for his life.
Give me Cole Beasley out there in the slot too, Will.
Kyler Murray's got 4 orange trash cans blocking for him, and Matt's going to say, but he's got Zach.
He'll be back.
I think Kyler Murray's about 2 inches himself.
Kyler Murray's. If the Niners had Kyler Murray, they'd win on Sunday.
No, they wouldn't.
Yeah, they would.
No,
he'd be able to scheme. He'd be able to run and stuff. He'd be able to throw the ball over the place. He'd have a great O-line and great weapons all around him.
But it just seems like we're reaching with the NFC. Like the NFC, the classic, it's not nearly as deep as the AFC. So again, that's probably why San Francisco.
I'll take Stafford over Purdy. I take Murray over Purdy. I take Geno Smith over Purdy. He's not even the best quarterback in his own division. I take Kirk Cousins.
Geno Smith over Purdy.
I would. I think he would do better in that offense. I mean, he's not the greatest, but he's like done good for him. He won a job, and he's been starting for the last 2 years.
Jared Goff, Jordan Love, they're the NFC North
Jared
guys.
Goff, Jordan Love, and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is better than Brock Purdy.
Yeah, Kirk.
Who's left in that division?
Fields.
Justin Fields. I don't know. Justin Fields, like, as much as I want to give him the benefit of the doubt for his O-line, he holds on to the ball too long and gets himself sacked.
I
don't
think he's
really,
the coach right.
I don't really understand.
He needs Shanahan.
I don't know. The secret's still out on him. I don't really know about him yet. I don't think he's gotten a fair shot, but I also don't think he's like the greatest. And in the East,
it's just Dak in the East.
Dak's way better than Brock.
You don't want Daniel Jones. You don't want.
No, he sucks.
You don't want Cutlets. You don't want
what
him.
About
you
Hurts?
Don't want Howell.
Would you rather have Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy?
Brock.
I think I would take Purdy.
Jalen Hurts got you to a Super Bowl.
Have we seen the best of Hurts? I feel like we've seen the best of Hurts. I mean, how does he?
Quarterback.
I know he had a down year. It's off a Super Bowl loss. It just seems
what is different from last year's Eagle team and this year's 49er team, talent-wise?
Exactly. You're going to prove my point right now that giving Jalen Hurts a ton of money is a waste of your time.
I mean, Jalen Hurts is significantly better.
I think Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy bring the same intangibles.
So who would you rather have?
I'd probably rather have Jalen Hurts. I could do more running with him than I can do with Brock Purdy.
Jalen Hurts.
I think
the brotherly shove is good enough for me. The brotherly shove is good enough for me.
Hurts had the same amount of talent and did not make it as far as the 49ers did this year.
So what about the conspiracy that if Purdy doesn't tear his elbow up last year, who wins that game?
I think if the Niners had a competent quarterback, they would have won. But
that competent quarterback's Purdy, who's going to get $50 million.
Might be Trey Lance. Who knows?
Let's wait. You're going to watch, dude. The Eagles are going to start going like this with Hurts, and then Purdy's going to start doing this with the Niners. If you give them the big contracts, there's only a select few of guys that you can give those major contracts out to that can carry a team. Is literally my entire point with this conversation. You can't just pay. You can't just pay a guy just to pay a guy because it's what Skip Bayless says. You got to pay this guy. You don't have to pay anybody. You don't have to pay them. You can move on. You can go find somebody else. There's going to be some college quarterbacks coming up through the ranks that are going to be the same. And I honestly think the biggest problem with quarterback play in the National Football League, and we'll end on this, is the Elite 11 camps that form bad habits of just no pressure whatsoever. You just missed the best era of quarterbacks. It's gone. It just happened.
But they all throw in shorts and they all throw off their back foot and they all do the rollout and they all
And then you got 15 dudes in their face. And then it's like, oh, what happened? What happened to this guy? I thought this guy was great. This guy looked great without any pressure. Be careful what you wish for, Niner fans. Be careful what you wish for, Niner fans. That's gonna make him a franchise quarterback. The best though is like Niners fans will sit there and defend Brock Purdy and then shit on Dak Prescott for no reason.
Because Brock Purdy wins.
That's right. Dak Prescott doesn't win.
I mean, here's the thing.
No, we're going to hit a nerve with Matt. We're going to be here all night.
Like, if you look at the end of Dak's second year, it was a very similar narrative of like, oh, this guy's fine. But he has a great running back. He has a great offensive line. He's got great receivers. Let's see what happens when they're all gone. And I mean, I'm biased, but I can say that he's kind of stood the test of time 6 years later in the year 8, where he doesn't have that running back anymore, but he still had a 4,500-yard season, led the league in touchdowns, and he's had an offensive line shift. He's had a whole new set of receivers. So I like there is room for Brock to grow as a quarterback in the same way that Dak's grown as a quarterback. You know, I mean, they're both day 3 guys that were never given their credit when they brought their teams to a one seed in their first or second year.
I'm not paying Brock Purdy $50 million a year. It's foolish. It's just you're signing yourself up for failure. And if they pay him,
that's what people said about Dak. For the same reasons, and they paid him for it.
And you guys lost in the first round to a second-year quarterback to the youngest roster in the NFL.
But I would rather win 12 games every year than be 3-14 and have a revolving door of a quarterback every 8 weeks.
And that's why Brock Purdy's going to get $50 million to be a regular season quarterback.
Yep. And then you know what's going to happen in 3 years?
Braden's going to eat the biggest crow sandwich.
No, I'm not. Because here's what's going to happen. The media is going to turn on him and be like, "This guy can't get it done. They need to go replace him with somebody else." And and they're going to be in cap.
They're not going to do well next year.
They will do well next year. They ain't getting $50 million next year. Giving Brock $50 million is malpractice. 100% agree.
We've seen worse things in the NFL, honestly.
The $50
and it's probably going to happen.
Takes away. You know what the problem with this is? There's too many people that don't understand how important it is to have offense and defensive linemen. Those guys get paid a lot of money. You can't afford to pay everybody. Can't afford to pay everybody. And if you're going to pay somebody, it better be Fernando Tatis Jr. level player on your team. Otherwise, you're going to be in some deep crap. We did want to draft and rank today, mostly for socials. I don't want to have Jeff King on the podcast complain about his Niners, dude. Get out of here. And talk about how great his Niners are. Anybody that is like upset right now are Niners fans. They're
I can't believe that I took the side at the San Francisco 49ers today. I did not wake up thinking, you know what, I'm going to defend Brock Purdy.
Guy's the biggest Brock Purdy and Trey Lance fan on the planet. Right here. I didn't think Matt would think that Brock Purdy would be that good. If you're the let's say here's a hypothetical for you. Let's say Dak Prescott leaves the Cowboys. And Brock Purdy's an available free agent. You signing Brock Purdy $50 million a year?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
No, I'm asking you. Would you do that?
Well, I'm not Jerry Jones.
Okay, asshole. Pick something. I'm asking you to pick something.
So it's
either
Brock Purdy or draft a guy?
Yeah. Either you sign Brock Purdy as a free agent for $50 million a year, or you go draft somebody.
I'd probably take Brock Purdy
for $50 million a year.
I don't have another alternative that's a proven commodity. I don't know what my team looks like. I don't know who's on my team. I don't know where my window is.
If $50 million is going to be the standard soon too, because isn't the salary cap? It's going up, so
it's going to continue. But the thing, I'm just throwing it out there because that's what Herbert got. But the reality is he's going to get more because everybody that gets a quarterback contract wants to be the highest paid quarterback to ever live.
Dak's going to reset the market in about 2 weeks. So,
and the Niners are going to pay Brock Purdy more than Dak because he's going to say I've accomplished more than Dak.
So if I'm the Niners, I don't wait to sign my quarterback. I get ahead of it and get him while he's relatively cheaper compared to the going rate.
Are you ready to trade Nick Bosa? Are you ready? I mean, like you got to start cutting off some of these guys, or you can't be under the cap. I mean, Nick Bosa or Brock Purdy, who are you keeping?
It's not that simple.
But I'm asking
you.
It is. You have to start eliminating talent from your team.
Right. And then there's also ways to keep the talent on your team that are your cornerstone players.
You're going to make them all restructure your contract? You're going to make them all do that?
I mean, you got that for the last 10 years.
Yeah, but you got to convince players to do that. I mean, it's not that simple either. You have to have the right guys in that sense.
I go back to how they're built. There are a lot of 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round picks that are impact players on that team that play at a very, very
and then they went and traded for elite players.
Yeah, like Trent Williams. They got him on a steal. They traded a 5th round pick.
And Christian McCaffrey.
They traded
and Chase Young. I mean, these are all guys that are 1st round picks.
Right. And they were able to make deals to get them
on the team. But you can't do that if you're paying your quarterback.
Right. So they had their window. They went for it. It's the least you could ask for as a fan of that team.
It's fair. They're doing what they can. They did what they could to try.
I thought the way that they scheduled this is
they did great. Everything they physically could and mentally and financially.
All I'm saying is to just assume that Brock Purdy's the reason for their success and it's going to continue just because he's had success is a fool's errand. It's a fool's errand. We wanted to rank and draft. What did we want to rank and what did we want to draft? We're ranking the songs.
Yes.
This is going to be better for social than it's for live. So we're going to rank
people.
We're going to rank the song. We're drafting the mascots.
Yep.
So you're telling me this.
So this is what we're going to do, Will.
You're telling me last minute that we have a ranking.
I put in the text. I put in the text.
You put it here. 10 minutes before we started.
No, that's cap. I sent it to you at 7:02 and we didn't get on air till 7:40. So cap. You had time to prepare.
There was no show prep on this whatsoever. I like the idea for sure. Everyone loves rankings. I I don't know what music. This is Matt's fault. This is Trey Lance's fault for blindsiding me and not being fucking prepared. So shame on you, Matt. I'm pissed. I'm just kidding.
All right, we'll have Matt start. We're gonna rank the best intro songs for TV and sports.
I'm gonna go 5-1.
5-1. Best intro songs.
Wait, intro song to sport. What do you wait?
Like for the TV thing, like like Fox does their
or like the Monday Night Football.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Fox, NBC, CBS. What is five? What did you say? 5-1?
Yeah, I'm gonna rank them bottom to top. Like my number one pick is gonna be the last one I say.
Oh my God! I was okay. All right.
And this is across all sports, not just NFL.
Wow. This might take another hour. I think we're gonna.
No, you got to go quick because you need to do it for social.
You're gonna go last. Don't worry about it. Speaking of NFL, number 5, NFL on CBS. Phenomenal song, takes me back to my childhood when the Chargers were on TV. Don't ask why.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on a second. I'm not gonna let you go on that. Oh, Charger? Wait, you were for the Chargers as a kid too?
No.
Yeah, because he's born and raised in San Diego. Yes.
Yeah, he said the I thought for sure it'd be some type of Fox thing. No, he's Cowboys guy.
No, they were on. Okay. Number 4, NBA on TNT. It's an all-time classic song that I love it every time that it comes on. I don't even watch basketball like that. Number 3, the Masters.
The small piano, really?
There's nothing more.
Nothing gets you more fired up about sports than the Masters.
Fired up to watch golf. It just gets me in the zone.
The Masters.
It gets him in the mood. Corner. Matt makes love to the same song of the Masters. That's what it's
with a picture of Trey Lance.
Trey Lance and Jim Nance just serenading in the back. Hello, friends.
Number 2, the Sunday Night Football song. Now that's a song when I hear it, I think of the Cowboys. Just a big time primetime game, November, Cowboys, Eagles. That whole deal there for number 2. Number 1, March Madness.
I think I got it here. I think I could do this right now. Give me a second. Hang on.
Oh yeah. I remember in college, I used to make this my alarm on the first day of March Madness so all my roommates could hear it. I'd put it up on my speaker and just play it as loud as I could.
It's great stuff. Great stuff. Oh, man, my board got jacked up. All right, recap.
Number 5, NFL on CBS. Number 4, NBA on TNT. Number 3, the Masters. Number 2, Sunday Night Football. Number 1, March Madness, college basketball.
I like it. All right, is it my turn? We got to give Will more time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
He's deep in thought.
Number, it's tough because I know that the top. Number 5, I'll do NFL on CBS. I think that's a good one. That gets me fired up. That's number 5. Number 4 will be NHL on ESPN. I think it's super cool. It's a money song right there. Number 3, what do I still want to do? Number 3, college football playoff theme. That version of ESPN, the college football playoff one.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
Dun 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 dun. Yep. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that one. That college. That's number 3. Number 2, March Madness theme, and number 1, all time, absolute all time. Thursday Night Football on NFL Network is phenomenal.
Oh my God,
phenomenal. Do you need a refresh?
I don't know if
that?
you're trying to be an asshole or like if you're actually you don't even watch Thursday Night Football. You've admitted that before.
No, that's like the recent one. I'm talking about the old school one that was on NFL Network. Like
that
back
had like
when,
the piano beginning.
It had like the bells, dude. It was like a holiday type song. You know what it reminds me of?
Yes.
It reminds me of when I was in college watching the Chargers, backs against the wall, playing Denver and going up there, and Ryan Matthews and company with Phillip Rivers just sticking it to Peyton Manning and keeping him off the keeping him off the field the whole time, but just grinding out the game, dude. It was awesome. Can you hear this?
No, I don't really have a desire to hear it either.
That wants to hear the Masters. Yes, that logo. That's exactly like that was my mind's eye. That's what it was thinking of.
Isn't that awesome?
That was the OG one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I missed that one. Like that one I think is like the best. That's my number one. I wanted to make it different than Perez's too. We can't agree on the same thing. But I know Matt I different ones with the NHL.
He took the best ones. Like
Perez is chalk, dude. It's your turn, bud.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I'll start with, let's see, number 5. I'm going to do Fox College Football. Early September. It's right before the NFL starts. And just the early September to October, just hearing that Monday morning or Saturday morning, after big noon kickoff is up, the Fox College Football theme song, you hear Joe Klatt and
Gus Johnson.
And Gus Johnson, thank you. He was escaping my mind. It's always fun to hear that. I am already picturing me losing hundreds of dollars on the Big Ten. It's beautiful. Best time. Number 4, Davis Stanley Cup Finals. Just hearing Kenny Albert going, Jonathan Marshall, just going crazy with it going in the background. It's always a good time. Number 3, kind of like the Olympics. It's the Olympic year.
That's a good one. I like that.
Good call.
I think we're back on track post-pandemic because between moving it a year away and then a year, it's weird. We're back on track. So I like the Olympics. It's cool. Shout out USA. Number 2, I mean, God, this is tough. Actually, I want to switch this. Number 2, CBS NFL. I think of the Chargers growing up. I think of this is when Shannon Sharp still had a really bad lisp. And he was like on with like Dan Marino and like James Brown and shout out to Boomer Esiason who's still on the cast. And then number 1, March Madness. It is beautiful. I can't wait to be a worthless piece of skin on my couch and watch literally 18 hours of college basketball for 2 straight days. It's so fun. I just think I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. So I think that'll be my top 5 of music.
All right, let's recap one more time with the isolations. We got Matt Perez.
NFL on CBS, number 5. NBA on TNT, number 4. Number 3, the Masters. Number 2, Sunday Night Football on NBC. And number 1, March Madness on CBS.
I got my top 5 of, what was my 5th one again? Oh, I had NFL on CBS was number 5. And then I went with NHL on ESPN as my number 4. My number 3 was the college football playoff theme. My number 2, March Madness on CBS. And my number 1 is definitely Thursday Night Football on NFL Network, the OG. Will.
Okay, my top 5 sports intro songs for each network. Number 5, Fox College Football. Number 4, the Stanley Cup Finals. Number 3, the Olympics. Number 2, the CBS NFL edition. And then number 1, March Madness.
Shout out to Ron Davis for with his comment. Masters definitely number 1 ever since we rejoined Ted in the Padres game with it when we ran out of
oh my god
bumper music. And Ted was like, oh, like a nice golf course right now.
For a May baseball
Padres
game.
Radio.
I think that was me and Ron, actually.
Oh my god, that is hilarious. I think he cut it though, dude. Like Ron's got so many great outtakes from Padres Radio. It's phenomenal. Those are the rankings. Last quick game we're gonna do. How many rounds of this you want to do?
It's up to you. I have a long list compiled up here.
You
have more
draft
music?
prep?
Oh yeah.
No,
I have a big board behind me.
Another we're drafting we're going to do a ranking every week. We're going to do a draft so we can kind of coordinate with social media, but
oh my god.
We're just throwing him through the ringer right now. That's
I'm
the best
so unprepared.
you know what Perez and I said? We're like, we can let Will do this off the cuff because he's going to say something funny.
No. Braden said
I
that.
said that.
Braden goes, Will's great off the cuff.
He is great off the cuff.
I
Improv
guess
guy.
like there. Look, man, there's a certain element where I do like to be prepared, but yeah. What is this big board? Is this like what's the war room look like for Matt? Is this like
Matt's got a war room? I'm just gonna keep going.
It's a yellow notepad and a pen.
I'm just gonna keep going off of what we got. So since war room guy over here is all dialed in, he'll be the third pick. I'll be the second pick, and Perez,
Brutal.
and Will Galvez will be the number one pick. We're gonna pick
snake draft.
Snake draft.
Yeah.
What, 5 rounds?
Yeah, sure.
Can we make it?
Oh my god,
He will make it through 5 rounds.
He might.
Oh, I'm gonna make it through 5 rounds. I'm just gonna be pissed because every time I do these fucking rankings, I always forget one after we cut off the camera, and I'm like, oh, I should have said that. And if I was prepared, like
It's
Stephen
not a ranking,
Jones
it's a draft.
down there,
It's a draft.
It's a draft, dude. You gotta be ready to go. It's like
Pick
it's like
Trey
you're
Lance
drafting a
first.
fantasy football thing during work or like doing some other event you're not supposed to be at. You got to draft for me college football mascots.
Football or basketball?
College
It could be
football
either college
mascots.
mascot. It's the same mascot for everything. College mascots only. We'll start
Okay.
with you, Will. Name the number one pick of the best mascot crew here.
Oh my god, really? I'm going number 1, I guess.
Rule is you can't draft your own school's mascot.
That's fair.
In fact, I think they should just be eliminated. So no Butch, no Super Frog, no Monty Montezuma.
Okay.
he's not really
All
allowed
right.
in
Well, that would have been the runner-up. Let's see. Number 1 over. There's a lot of pressure here. Bucky the Badger. Give me him.
Oh my god.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
That's terrible.
That's why I'm pissed. There was a bunch. I hate being. I could have traded down, and I don't know why fucking Matt, who assembled this draft, somehow has the best pick. This is like fantasy football where you don't want to have.
Don't want to be
pick.
the number one pick.
No, and then you just get shit on by everyone in the chat because you made the giant reach of a pick.
Reach on Bucky the Badger. I'm gonna take Big Red.
Okay.
I'm the number one pick.
I'm gonna take Otto the Orange.
Because if I were to not take Big Red and him pass to you, I would have got so much crap from Mike for no
Is that the
reason.
Western Kentucky? Is that the Hilltopper? Is that?
Yeah,
Hilltopper.
it is the
That is
Hilltopper.
He looks like the sick version, like the cousin of like one of those McDonald's mascots. Like
Yeah, he
what-
looks
what
like
do you-
Grimace. His name's Grimace, the purple guy.
Yeah, what's a Hilltopper? What the hell is that?
So
He's
like the
just
school's
big
on a
red
hill.
blob.
I know what
So
it
they're
is, but like
Hilltoppers.
I'm looking at the picture of Big Red, and it's just such a
can you not
menacing
look-
photo. Okay,
Couldn't you not look? Big Red?
all right. Is it my turn now again?
No.
Yeah, no,
no,
it's
no.
my turn. So I got the
Oh
mascot.
no,
Hold
it's
on.
Snake. It goes back.
Oh yeah, he gets
Yeah.
to pick 2 in a row.
You said Big Red. I say Otto the Orange from Syracuse. He's similar to Big Red. They have similar build.
They're
Um,
cousins in some way.
I'm gonna go Raider Red.
Ah, that's terrible. I love Raider Red. Raider Red's one of my all-time
Does he
favorite
have
mascots.
pistols? Like, does he have pistols?
Yeah, and then his little like, big hat, like his 10-gallon
got
hat,
his
flips and
mustache.
stuff. He's got the great mustache. Ah, he stole my
Good
Raider
look on the
Red.
guy.
That's terrible. I'm taking Peter the Anteater. Peter the Anteater is my second round pick.
Oh my god.
I got Big Red
Okay.
and Pete.
You know what? Number 2, I want to take Cocky, the University of South Carolina. You got to have that type of attitude. The Cocks on the farm. They really get after it.
I got a better one
I
for
love
you
the
that I'm gonna
colors too because
get
it's
in the
reminiscent
last
of high
round.
school. And yeah, give me some SEC flavor there.
All right, you got another pick.
Chicken. Oh, it's my turn again. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
how
Give me
snake
the
draft
Oregon
works.
duck. I want the Oregon
Puddles?
duck.
You want
I
Puddles?
like
the
when
duck?
is that his name?
His
I
name's
like when he
Puddles.
rides
Well,
out on
yes,
the
but no.
on the motorcycle. I like when he messes with the fans. Give me the Oregon duck.
Puddles the duck. Fair. We're only doing college, right?
Yep.
I guess I made the rules. I should have been paying attention to that.
I think we're just delirious after the Trey Lance and Brock Purdy $50 million discourse that really set us off the edge.
Yep. Should have moved on that. All right, who do I got here? What am I thinking? I got my 5th round pick already dialed in. You guys are going to be wild on that pick for sure. I'm going to go Smokey. Go Smokey.
This guy's just
University of
picking-
Tennessee, Knoxville.
Well, I was
Okay.
going to pick Raider Red, and you snaked him from me.
Sounds like a guy that can't make adjustments on the fly.
So I got Smokey.
All right.
Smokey's a great
Ooh.
mascot. He dresses up like Elvis and stuff sometimes.
My number 3 pick. I'm gonna go Zippy the Zip from Akron. Look him up.
I know what Zippy the Zip looks
Great
like.
build.
Oh my god.
Akron pissed me off in 2021 because I had them plus 18 against Ohio State, and their receiver could not catch it's basically a slant route that would have won a good amount. And since then, I've hated the Akron Zips. So that's
Just
a bad pick, Matt. But good for
big
you.
Akron hater.
Number 4, you got to give credit where credit's due. No mascot puts in the work that the St. Joe's Hawk does game after game over there on the East Coast. Give me the St. Joe's Hawk to lead off the 4th round.
St. Joe's Hawk.
He flaps his wings the entire ball game.
Yep. That's the thing. St. Joe's Hawk.
Wow, of all.
Oh man.
This is okay, so it's my turn now.
No, it's my turn. I get to go again. Have you ever drafted before?
Okay.
Snake draft, my guy.
No, I'm trying to sort through all of these stupid mascots. Some of them are actually really funny. Like that's why I love college. Like they're just whenever you see it's just cruising around like on campus or like on the camera and just messing with fans. You gotta love it because you don't get that in the NFL.
I'm grabbing my guy, the 4th round pick. I'm grabbing my guy, Bill the Goat. Is that Zippy?
Bill the Goat.
Bill the Goat. Bill the Goat, the Navy mascot. I got pictures with him. Bill the Goat's my guy. I love Bill the Goat. Back to you.
Oh man, this is tough. I have animals so far. I don't have any other fictional characters, and God, I guess I could put that off to the 5th round because there's some cool ones.
Well, you get back-to-back picks here.
I know, but you gotta make these count. You know what? I'll do because it's a live animal. I'm gonna do Mike the Tiger. We'll go back to the SEC for LSU, and then
Mike the Tiger.
Yeah. That'd be cool if they just like let him run around. Like if he was tamed enough to just like cruise down the sidelines during like an Alabama game, that'd be pretty awesome. Let's see. I guess my 5th round pick. Man, this is tough. Let's go Benny the Beaver. Let's go
Benny.
Pacific Northwest.
Good pick.
That's a solid pick.
I'll take here. Give me a big chainsaw. I love beavers. The animals, they're awesome.
All right, it's my 5th round pick time. I have one that I want to do, but I don't think he'll count, and I'll tell you about him in a second. So I want to pick the Army Mule. But that being said, if I'll talk to you about it after. Okay. I have my extra pick.
Oh
here.
wow. This sounds controversial.
It's pretty close. Go ahead.
To round this thing out, I'm going to go with Big J, the Kansas Jayhawk.
Oh, the Jayhawk.
There's something about seeing his beak in like the corner shots of like during Kansas basketball.
See the mascot that like goes like this with
that
his beak too?
Absolutely kills me. Like the beak
funny.
is just massive
He's got a great schnoz.
compared to everything else he's got going on. So
what does he use that nose for?
I don't know, but the other pick I was gonna do, I don't think he's a mascot anymore. It was the mascot for Rhode Island School of Design. Have you ever heard of Scrody the Scrotum?
Yeah, that doesn't count.
That's hilarious.
RISD.
Yeah. Scrody the Scrotum. Have you ever looked him up?
Still the
yeah, well, you can go look him up.
Yeah, look up Scrody the Scrotum.
Yeah.
Yeah, look it up.
Scrody the Scrotum. Am I just gonna look up a bunch of dirty things right now? Scrody the
live mascot.
Wow. It actually came up. Scrody the Scrotum. Huh. Wow. That.
Isn't that great?
Okay.
That's a mascot right there.
Wow. That is, man. You gotta love Google. You gotta love the internet. I cannot believe that actually. Wow.
Exists.
So that was your 5th pick?
No, I picked the Army. I picked the Army Mule. So our official draft is I had ended up getting Big Red, Peter the Anteater, Smokey, Billy the Goat, and the Army Mule. The only guy I didn't get that I wanted was Raider Red.
Sorry about that.
Would you get?
I thought you hate that school.
I do, but I love the mascot. How do you not love Raider Red?
He looks like Yosemite Sam.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
I love Raider Red.
Matt, who are your picks?
Otto the Orange, Raider Red, St. Joe's Hawk, Zippy the Zip, and then Big J.
Okay. I let off with Bucky the Badger. And then
I can't believe that was our number one overall pick.
I know. That's why you can't.
Too much pressure on that number one spot, dude.
I'm still pissed off about that. Number 2, I got Cocky from the University of South Carolina, the fake USC. I got the Puddles, the Oregon Duck. And is that the mascot?
Raider Red, dude.
Number 4, I got Mike the Tiger from LSU, and then rounded out my top 5, Benny the Beaver.
All right, money. Good stuff all around. We'll see what the Niners do with Brock Purdy. Somebody really is a big fan of Trey Lance, we found out tonight, and Matt Perez. It's because he's a Dallas Cowboy now.
Yeah, as I say, do we get mad at a Trey Lance jersey? Should we get?
I think we should.
I'd go
North
hard.
Dakota State.
I think we should.
Imagine pulling up to Cowboys camp in August with a Trey Lance Cowboy jersey.
We spent way too much time on that. Long, good podcast tonight. A lot of great content we can repurpose. Be sure to follow us on all our social media accounts, Gaslab's Finest. Follow us on our individual accounts. I'm B_SURP. Matt Perez, 24. Will Galvez with 3 L's. That will do it for us tonight. A little bit of a late night pod after dark. Thanks again for being a part of it. Thanks again, everybody that was joining on Instagram and on Twitter. And be sure to tune in next week when hopefully we'll be at a normal time, about 6 o'clock. Never really know. Had a lot of moving parts tonight, but it was fun all together. And we'll see you next time.